join me. And this is my first Facebook Live, but I felt that it was time to share the best story, well, maybe not the best story, but one of the most Christmas stories never told. The Bread Family Christmas. What? You have never heard the story of the Bread Family Christmas? Oh my. Then sit down, grab a cup of hot cocoa, sit back and listen close while I share with you one of the most delicious stories never told. Our story began a very long time ago. Although very little is known about the origin of the Bread family, their ancestry can be traced all the way back to the days of Moses and the 11th lineage of the Mannas. It was Christmas Eve, 1970. The wind was howling, snow was falling, and it was a very, very cold Christmas Eve. Hustle and bustle was the theme as corn and gingerbread were busily preparing the annual Bread family Christmas celebration. Their holiday guests would soon arrive, and as always, there was too much to do and not enough time to get it done. The Bread, you see, were blessed with 6 little muffins, each one embracing unique individual personalities. The oldest, Blueberry, well, let's just say that she never ceased to leave an imprint everywhere she went. Now, Banana Nut followed, and he loved to tell jokes, but he seriously had a tough time keeping it all together. Now, third in line was Little Miss English, and boy, she had a split sense of humor. Not to be outdone, fourth in line, Chocolate Chip was a chip off the old block, loved by all and as sweet as could be. Bran, the 5th born muffin, was nicknamed the Peacemaker because he always tried to avoid confusion and much preferred for things to run smooth. Now, last but not least, Little Pumpkin, the baby of the family, she added just a touch of spice to round out the warmth. For the little muffins, excitement was in the air. They were anxiously awaiting the arrival of, well, you know who. To say that the year had been tough for Cornbread would be an understatement, and he didn't quite share their enthusiasm. You see, Cornbread was stressed and worried because the economy was taking a toll and making raising 6 little muffins difficult. Day after day, Cornbread would row to the factory because his family needed the dough. Suffice it to say that times were tough for the Bread family. They were cutting back and tightening their belts. Well, at least they were trying to. Nevertheless, this time of year was for celebrating, and breads have been and always will be resilient. Cornbread knew that this too shall pass. Now, through it all, Gingerbread never seemed overly concerned. She went about her sweet way, smiling through the worst of times. Inside the little canister they called a house, Gingerbread always made everyone feel a little bit better. She could always transform a bad day into a good one. Ginger made sure that the little muffins got a quick nap earlier that day so they would be wide awake for the evening festivities. After a couple of hours, Ginger sang, "Rise and shine." Waking up was a little difficult for the little muffins as they seemed to be stuck in the warmth of their surroundings, but with a little bit of nudging, they were ready to greet everyone. Time was passing fast, and soon their company would be arriving, including the in-loaves. The in-loaves always added to Cornbread's stress. Their wry sense of humor was never received well, and most of the time they ended up behaving like heels. As customary, breads from all over the country would soon be arriving, from east to west and everywhere in between. Aunt Claire traveled all the way from France, and Cousin Peta from Greece. Ironically, they were the first to arrive. Uncle Crumpet wasn't far behind. Uncle Crumpet always made Ginger a little nervous because most of the time he would arrive half-baked. All worries disappeared once everyone arrived, and Corn and Ginger's house was filled with love as the Bread's fat family gathered around the oven, anticipating the event of the year. The anticipation was rising as the clock ticked ever so slowly. You might even say the little muffins were crumbling with excitement, when suddenly a loud pop was heard outside the little house. The Breads grew silent. They knew it was time, the moment they had been waiting for. There he was, easily identifiable by his characteristic hat, shirt, and no pants ensemble. Yes, it was the famous doughboy himself, delivering goodies fresh from the oven. His giggles were endless while he finished his work. He spoke not a word, then grinned with a smirk. soon out the door onto the next oven to bring happiness to other bread muffins. But they heard him exclaim as he soared out of sight, "Happy baking to all, and to all a good night." Merry Christmas from Mama T.